and he's definitely viewed as a player at Chelsea that takes off and becomes the player that they all hope and expect that he can be.
We'll say the big Spaniard, the Spanish matador.
Hi and welcome to Cafe Barbara in Cobham, Stoke Davenant for the latest dissection of Enzo Maresca's pre-match press conference at the Chelsea training ground just over the road. Now it's very sunny outside, but it's a bit cold. I haven't got a warm enough jumper on, warm enough clothes, so we're inside this week, so apologies if you're missing the sunshine. Bit of sunshine as well for Marc Guiu these days. You'll remember that there was a bit of conspiracy theory that having been recalled from Sunderland, he wasn't being played because Chelsea wanted to loan him out again, and they couldn't do it under the rule that you can't play for more than 3 teams in a season. But that was broken, and we've now found out from Enzo Maresca why it was that Marc Guiu wasn't playing when he immediately got recalled from Sunderland, and it turns out he wasn't training very well.
I mean, that's going to happen, isn't it? If you send the player out on loan, 20 days later decide, oh, quick, you've got to come back, and then, well, maybe we'll play you, maybe we won't. You're not going to be in the best of mindsets if you do that. But I suppose it shows the good side of Marc Guiu, that he's gone out, had that conversation with Maresca, and then sorted his head out a bit really, and really kicked on. You've got to remember that he is still a really young player. He held the record for Chelsea's youngest Champions League goal scorer for an almighty half an hour
on Wednesday night,
against in midweek in the Champions League against Ajax. So. Yeah, an encouraging day for him, that game against Ajax. The fact that he's coming in, I think the 2 games that he had before getting that first goal of the season, he made encouraging impacts off the bench if he wasn't getting on the score sheet and making things happen, occupying defenders. He presses really well, and he's definitely viewed as a player at Chelsea that, his young age, there's going to come this moment where after bits and pieces he suddenly just takes off and becomes the player that they all hope and expect that he can be.
And it's encouraging signs of Maresca's man management, I think, as well. The sort of the treat them mean, keep them keen kind of attitude. Because the timings of this thing, it seems that the conversation that Maresca had with Guiu was just about 3 weeks ago, very shortly before the Liverpool game, and Maresca said that since then, he said up to that point he wasn't playing because he wasn't training well. It's in
all the ways.
In all the ways. So let me count the ways he wasn't training well. Heaven knows what they were. But
so I guess snoods and hats.
And gloves before the clocks go back. That's a big no-no, I think. But the fact that he then immediately subsequent to that conversation, he did get his chance against Liverpool, and that's when the conspiracy theories all went away. And he did make a difference when he came on against Liverpool. He gave them, he enabled them to play a little bit further up the pitch and help Chelsea to sort of wrest control of that game back from Liverpool. Not that Liverpool ever had total control, but there was a period in that second half where they were improving. When it looked like they equalised, and they thought, what's coming now? It's going to be a Liverpool winner. But in fact, it turned out to be the other way round, and Guiu was part of that. And I think, the fact that he scored a Champions League goal will, again, is a demonstration of his quality, albeit against a limited Ajax team. And
that's the caveat with this great night for Chelsea.
Yes,
Ajax was god awful.
They're absolutely abysmal. But as you say, I think they brought him in for a reason, and that they saw potential in, and that maybe Barcelona didn't see quite so much. And I think he is, in the absence of Liam Delaps, he is the only out-and-out 9 they've got in the club, and offers them something.
Pedro that plays this sort of combined role. They can obviously play together. Guiu and Pedro, I suppose the
who is this Jew person? I think I've been online. I think I found the video where the player himself says it's Guiu.
Guiu. I will try as hard as I can.
We'll say the big Spaniard, shall we? let's just leave it at the dashing Spaniard, the Spanish matador.
I suppose the problem for the Spanish matador now is that
don't say
he's had these. He's had this first goal, this bit of praise from Maresca. He sorted himself out, and now. Maybe not. Well, definitely not for this weekend, but come next week, Liam Delaps back.
Yes, it's. That's after a lot of bad news this season for Chelsea on the injury front. That is good news. It sounds like Delap is back, just about on schedule, according to Maresca, about retired, and you would think that next Wednesday's Carabao Cup trip to Wolves is a good chance to give him a run out. I mean, I'd be surprised if he started, because as Maresca said. Yesterday, Thursday, was his first full training session with us, so it'd be a bit soon to be starting a game, especially with a hamstring injury.
you can't go risking on a cold night in Wolverhampton, which I'll be part of. You need to warm those hammies up pretty well if you're going to play a full game. So I think we'll probably see him maybe off the bench, maybe at 20, 30 minutes at Wolves next week. And then, as you say, it gives Maresca some options. And he was asked about Guiu, because also remember Guiu was taken off at half time against Ajax, which suggests
maybe some forward planning for this.
Did Maresca wanted to keep him as fresh as possible, because although, as Maresca said, João Pedro can play a 9 or a 10, it's pretty clear that João Pedro is more comfortable playing a 10 and with a 9 alongside him, rather than, cause I think sometimes if he plays the 9 he can sort of get caught between two stools, because his instinct is to drop into the hole rather than give the team that focal point further forward.
Definitely, and I suppose the other thing now is we see how Delap comes back in. You look at this weekend's opponent, Sunderland, obviously where he's pulled back from, and if you was to move again, they're the only option, aren't they? Because as you said, you can't play for 3 teams in one season.
Exactly.
The manager there, Maresca, after a fantastic start to the season, said, we might have him back in January if we can. I suppose that's the dilemma for Chelsea now. They've clearly got a capable player on their hands. You have to see how Delap comes back. If Pedro picks up any knocks, he's been playing an awful lot, and a lot of them have been playing through pain. I think Maresca would probably prefer to have those options around than send him back to Sunderland, who now, after their start to the season, look to be a rival. They're on the same amount of points this weekend.
No,
it's been fantastic the way Sunderland have started.
So it's all our yesterdays. I mean, you're too young to remember. I remember the last great Sunderland team who came up from the Championship and then I think finished 7th in consecutive seasons with Kevin Phillips and Niall Quinn and all that. The heady days at the Stadium of Light, but heady days at the moment at Stamford Bridge. I mean, as we've said, although Ajax were rubbish, well, they weren't rubbish
with 11 and 10.
Well, no, they weren't. No, they weren't rubbish with 11 men, but they folded like a pack of cards after the sending off and conceding directly from the free kick, which was awarded for that foul. But even allowing for that, it was a fantastic night for Chelsea the other night, for the young players, the 3 teenagers scoring, Reggie Walsh, all of that stuff. But again, Estevao,
always the ones.
Estevao took the headlines, and deservedly so for his performance. And Maresca's talked a bit about how the other Chelsea players are helping him settle in, with particularly João Pedro and Andre Santos, helping to give him a feel of what it's like to play in Europe.
Yeah, and I think you have to be so careful with these young players. It sounds like Estevao, from everything that the players and Maresca say, is a very grounded young player, very intelligent, knows where he could be going and what he needs to do to get there. A solid family foundation around him who have really helped him. I think he's been learning English for a long time prior to moving over to Chelsea, even before that deal was agreed over a year ago. You just have to be so careful with the planning and development of these young players, because he is clearly, everyone that's gone to a Chelsea game, it's not a very original thought to sit there, watch him and go, he's quite good at football. But everyone is coming away with that impression and expecting big things from him. He's had big moments. He's had his first Champions League goal, fantastic, really confident penalty. He's had that winner against Liverpool, which was an incredible moment for him, for the squad and all the fans that were there to witness it. Maresca bombing down the touchline and getting that red card. It's encouraging to see that maybe they pull him back a bit and don't let him play every single minute, have every single moment. He will have a dip eventually at some point, and you never know when that's going to come. It's nice as well that he's had this chance to flourish, I think, while Cole Palmer's been out. He's a big miss for them, Cole Palmer, of course. Every player, the coach will say it, Cole Palmer's the best player at Chelsea, and it's a long time to go without him, but they're coping incredibly well, and Estevao's a big part of that.
No, and the other point that Maresca made today, when he was asked about Enzo Fernandez giving that penalty to Estevao, which enabled him to become the youngest Chelsea goal scorer in the Premier League. Fernandez already having taken and scored a penalty. I think at that point, even at 3-1, we knew the game was over. But Maresca was keen to emphasise it does show the togetherness and the spirit in the team that Enzo in that moment had the presence of mind to think, no, actually, it'll be a good thing now to let Estevao take this penalty. And by the way, didn't he put it away well?
It's always funny, those things, though, because Enzo hands it over, lovely moment, he scores, brilliant, everyone's happy. if he'd missed, you would end up with Maresca sat there going, well, we've got our scheduled penalty takers. It's Enzo Fernandez. He should have done it. So
we'll be back to that situation, was it 2 seasons ago, where they were arguing on the pitch
fighting over
under Poch. So yeah, but I think overall it does show a good.
The United camp, they all want to see him do well and lift him up as well. So I'm sure everyone will be hoping that he can cause similar trouble against Sunderland at the weekend.
And if you want to learn more about Estevao's journey from Brazil to Chelsea, do stay tuned to the Sun Online and to the print edition, because there'll be very soon a feature coming up in there. But let's turn to Sunderland now, and probably the biggest surprise package, I'd say, of the Premier League so far. Level on points with Chelsea, and it's not going to be a straightforward game at all at Stamford Bridge, given also the physicality which Maresca has emphasised about.
Yes, definitely, and I think that that's one aspect that can cause this Chelsea team some problems with a young, inexperienced side. A lot of changes having to happen in the back line with injuries, suspensions, etc., etc. And I think the interesting thing is Chelsea have been on this encouraging good run, but the amount of chances they gave up against Forest in that, Forest could have been out of sight, and we still have Ange Postecoglou making
bold predictions about trophies.
About trophies at the City Ground, but they need to make sure they don't do that, because this Sunderland side are full of confidence. They're direct, getting forward, threatening sides. They've got dangerous players. They've got an experienced player in the middle in Granit Xhaka, who's been one of the signings of the season across the entire Premier League so far. I think the impact he's made there, and we know that over the summer they spent an awful lot of money, the most money ever spent by a promoted team to the Premier League, and they've got big ambitions there, finishing quite high up in the table in their first season, which when you heard about them in the summer were laughed off, but you see them now putting into action. Again, like we said about Estevao, everyone's going to have a dip at some point, but they're a very impressive and effective team, and if Chelsea give them that encouragement, not quite playing out from the back the way they should be, and not quite hitting their mark, then it could be a dangerous game for Chelsea. So they shouldn't go into this with their eyes shut and thinking this should be an easy one promoted.
Yeah, and Chelsea have in recent seasons struggled at home against promoted teams, particularly ones, particularly the physicality. I think will pose an issue. And I think the midfield battle you mentioned, Xhaka, will be very interesting. Again, with the game over 4-1 at half time on Wednesday, Maresca was able to make changes, and so Caicedo having played right back when he stayed on for a while, but he and Fernandez were given some time off. So you'd expect Romeo Lavia, having started the last 2 games and played. He only played 45 minutes against Forest, but having he played longer against Ajax, you'd expect the starting midfield to be Enzo, Fernandez, and Caicedo, I think. But I think that battle will be interesting in it. But if they can play like the way they did, the way Chelsea did against Liverpool, you would back them to come away with another win.
Yeah, and I think that's just the thing you get with these younger, less experienced teams, is the performances often come against the big teams when they know they need to perform and they know all the cameras are on them, and you see it across the Premier League. Suddenly a team that's been struggling will turn up against a big team and get an impressive result. Replicating that against Sunderland is the big thing, so we'll have to see if they're capable of that.
Yeah, and that would be maintain the momentum and get 5 wins in a row in all competitions. Join us again next week for more from Chelsea.